So in this video, I wanted to take a quick look at a fountain pen from Sailor called the Hi-Ace Neo. And this is a cheap, or at least affordable fountain pen from Sailor, which is kind of a weird thing. Sailor is one of the big fountain pen brands from Japan, like Pilot and Platinum, but they're not really known for their lower end. So I saw this one online, I was pretty interested, and I picked it up. It cost me about $8, maybe $9, shipped. Took a couple weeks to get to me from Japan, and here it is. It came in a little gift box, really nothing fancy about it, just a paper or plastic box, not very notable. Came with one cartridge, no converter. It uses a Sailor cartridge, so that is a proprietary cartridge, same that you'd find on a Sailor 1911 or anything like that. And so this is basically Sailor's equivalent of maybe, I guess, like a Platinum Preppy. This thing sells for about $3. This one sells for about $8. This Hi-Ace Neo is a little bit more refined, but it's not really a better pen in any way. Maybe a little bit better, a little bit higher end because it has a metal cap, but it's essentially Sailor's beginner fountain pen. So let's get into it now. So steel nib, says Sailor on there. It tends to pick up ink and get kind of dirty. I'm not quite sure why that is, but it's definitely happening. See, it has the heart-shaped breather hole, which is very cool, but it's a steel nib. It's a fine. It has a clear feed there. It looks kind of like bluish black. That's the ink color I have in there, black ink, but definitely has a clear feed, which is a nice feature, and I wish more companies would do that. Slim section or grip area, not too tiny, but definitely on the slim side. This is all plastic, and you can see some of the plastic manufacturing marks there. This is not a particularly refined or super high quality pen in any way. It's just a normal cheap plastic pen. Again, Sailor cartridge, does not include a converter. This is a frosted plastic body, no metal, nothing on it. There is a hole, so you cannot turn this into an ink dropper, or an eyedropper rather, without plugging that hole in some way, which usually more trouble than it's worth. And no metal here, nothing to speak of. Not even a logo, nothing, very, very plain. Just some reinforcement back here. The cap is a very lightweight metal cap with a very light duty metal clip. Does a job fine, but it's just like across the board as cheap as things could be. Very simple metal top. Actually, I like that part. It looks nice, but again, very simple. And then nothing really to say on the sticker here. We do see a 1,000 rather, so that means 1,000 Japanese yen, so it's a $10 price tag. So buying it for $9 is actually a pretty good deal considering that got shipping. But it doesn't really do much to justify the price because this is a very similar pen, again, to a $3 one. You just get a little bit of metal in the cap. And then just from a size standpoint, it's a very, very slim pen. And you can see them here. Preppy's a lot larger in body and a lot wider in the grip, which, prefer a smaller pen than the Hi-Ace Neo is the way to go, but it's generally, as pens get thicker and wider and longer, they become more expensive. As far as the writing goes, it's a very simple steel nib. I don't feel like it has all the characters of a Sailor gold nib. A lot of that subtlety and that sort of really distinctive feel is lost. I will say it has some feedback, the way you would expect from a Sailor or Platinum. So at least that is carried through, but it's not very distinctive. You could be writing this with a Pilot Fine in a Metropolitan. In fact, that pen is very similar to this one, except that one has a full metal body and would sell for like $3 or $4 more. If you're writing with this pen consistently, it's a nice, fine, it's a good note taker. No problems, very well behaved, except for some smearing, and some ink tends to just like kind of, I don't know if it's leaking out or what. Some of that might come from the pull cap. Sometimes when you're pulling this off, it'll like suck a little ink out with it. Or maybe when I've been transporting this, it's pulling some ink out. It's hard really to tell when it's happening, but it's getting a little bit messy. No, not like a major problem, but worth noting. No real variation or anything like this. It's a fine steel nib. Fine as in the size, but also like, you know, it gets the job done. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely far from my least favorite. Again, once you're writing with it, it does the job well. And it's good for note taking. One thing I will say about this nib and feed setup is that if you let this pen sit for 2 or 3 days, the whole area will completely dry out. And I don't think it's the Sailor ink, because I've used stock Sailor ink fairly frequently. So I think it's just the nib or feed. It's running a little bit dry, and this thing will dry out if you let it sit for 2 or 3 days, which is really annoying to me, because I tend not to use every pen every day. So I like to leave it in. You pick it up, and then all of a sudden it's just a headache, and then you just throw it aside. And here is a Platinum. I haven't used this one in, I don't know, weeks. Let's see if this one writes, just as a test. Yeah, so right there. This hasn't, I seriously haven't used this thing, I bet a month, and starts writing right away. This one, after a day or two, obviously wrote after 2 minutes, but after a day or two, will stop writing. So that is the Sailor High Ace Neo. Interesting pen, and it's cool to get my hands on an affordable pen from Sailor. I mean, not that their more expensive pens are a good deal, but they're all over $100. So using something from Sailor under $10 was a fun experience, but I would not recommend it. There are better pens out there for the money. My favorite is the Platinum Preppy, but there's a lot of them that I've reviewed in the past. Thanks for watching.